السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Can we have the headset? بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I apologize for the issues that we're having with the sound system. Until we get the headset, I'm going to begin inshallah azza wa jal. I'm going to divide this session into three sections. First section, I'm going to talk about what a day in Ramadan, how you can maximize your benefit from the month of Ramadan. The idea is that the month of Ramadan has some objectives, and one of the primary objectives of the month of Ramadan is to attain or to achieve emancipation from hellfire or salvation. At the end of the month of Ramadan, the Prophet told us that Allah Azza wa Jal frees people from hellfire, right? So in the light of what we were told in the Quran that the month of Ramadan, or fasting in the month of Ramadan, was the completion of the fasting of the 30 days or the 29 days, whatever the amount of days we have in a month, in a lunar month are. Assalamu alaikum. I think this is better. Yeah. So in the light of two objectives or two values that the Quran highlights in the beginning of the verses that talk about fasting, so what a day should look like. What are the two things that we should begin our day, the one thing that we should begin, or the two things that we should begin our day with and maintain or attain by the end of each day. So there are two I don't know how to refer to them other than two beautiful elements and values that the Quran wants us to attain, that are mentioned in the verses of fasting. So number one, we're going to be talking about what a day should look like. Number two, the second section is going to be a specific advice to the believing women. And number three is going to be, inshallah, an open Q&A session, inshallah. So let's begin. The month of Ramadan for some people is time for change and transformation and reformation, however you want to see. So it's time for change. And there is some change that comes automatically with the month of Ramadan. Immediately, as soon as the month is announced, we immediately notice that change. There's a change that takes place. Even if it's not at a deeper level, but there is some superficial change that takes place, right? In the schedule, in the way we approach everything, almost everything in the month of Ramadan. So this is one objective that some people have. For some people, the month of Ramadan is not about change, or in addition to being about change, there may be another objective for them. It may be about renewal, to rejuvenate, to recharge, to get a boost. They feel like, alhamdulillah, I've been doing fine, but the month of Ramadan comes and gives me a spiritual boost, right? Now, for some people, it may be the month of Ramadan may be just an experience, something to celebrate and something to be part of and to live. So they may be much more about the celebration of the month. Like, how do I celebrate the month of Ramadan? It's all about celebration. It's about events and activities and filling their schedule, with things to do in the month of Ramadan, keeping busy in the month of Ramadan. You know what I mean? Just how you keep busy in the month of Ramadan. You may even have people who have already, decided what kind of entertainment they're going to be enjoying in the month of Ramadan. Just helps me get by, right? So I'm not going to talk about that third type, as much as I'm tempted to do so, but I'm not going to talk about that. All I'm going to say is, I don't want to say I'm guilty of it, but I've done this before, But I feel like, subhanAllah, the more you experience Ramadan, the more you realize that it's really a precious, unique opportunity and privilege, right? And that you should take advantage of every moment. It's just 1 month, right? 700, how many hours? Do math for me, quickly. Huh? I should have not even said 700. Yallah. Huh? Come on. 700 what? 720 hours. Did you calculate it? Come on, dude. 24 times 30. Okay. So 720 hours max. That's all you're going to have, right? That's not a lot, to be honest with you, right? So every moment of the month of Ramadan counts. So I'm not going to talk about, how we should. As a matter of fact, I'm going to dismiss that third option, or, again, how, for the people who say, how do I celebrate the month of Ramadan? How can I enjoy the month of Ramadan, right? Because if you connect spiritually with the month of Ramadan, you're going to enjoy it. But you're not going to enjoy it from day one, right? It's like accumulative, Every time you look back at what you have accomplished, you're going to enjoy it more, right? So after a week, when you look back at how much Quran, for instance, you read, or how many nights, the fact that you were able to pray Taraweeh, or maintain your schedule for 7 days, that's when you get a sense of accomplishment. So we're going to talk about, in the light of the other two objectives. Objective number one being, the month of Ramadan is time for reform, change, right? Just bringing something out of you that you didn't realize you had, right? And a boost, right? So if you're doing something, you don't want to give it up. You don't want to, let's say you have a daily schedule that has been working for you throughout the year. Let's say, when it comes to reading Quran, you don't have to change it. You just have to boost it, right? طيب. So when we look at the verses that talk about fasting, what do they say? I mean, what is the objective of fasting? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not leave that up to us. I know, again, we have our own individual, specific, right, goals that we want to achieve in the month of Ramadan. But the primary objectives, why did Allah Azza wa Jal told us to fast? And what is the objective of fasting the entire month of Ramadan? There are two that stand out in the verses that talk about fasting. Number one, in the first verse, verse 183, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to fast is that we may attain taqwa. Not experience taqwa, but attain taqwa. Get it. Like, get taqwa and master it. Or live it. Right? We may not be able to master it in one Ramadan. We may need multiple Ramadans. But get taqwa, practice it, attain taqwa, be a muttaqi. That's what Ramadan was meant for. That's objective number one. At the end of the verses that talk about the month of Ramadan, Allah Azza wa Jal mentions another objective. The reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to fast the month of Ramadan and make sure that we fulfill our obligation, we fast the whole month. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. This in and of itself is an objective. Right? وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. تَشْكُرُونَ. So two things Allah subhanahu that we must attain in the month of Ramadan in order for us to, if you don't fulfill these two objectives, if you don't live this, then there's something wrong with the way you practice fasting in the month of Ramadan. Two things: tattaqun, taqwa, being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being mindful of Allah as mindfulness, and number two, shukr, tashkurun, to be, being grateful and expressing gratitude and realizing how fortunate, someone asked me not too long ago, someone asked me in a gathering that we had, what do you fear most for the ummah, for the community, for yourself, for your family? The one thing that I really, really fear in addition to being ungrateful to Allah, denying Allah's existence or not believing in Allah, the one thing that I fear most is being ungrateful and taking God's blessings upon us for granted. Right? Our generation, our time, we are the most privileged, right? As far as I know, right? Comparing myself to what I caught some of my grandparents, right? And my parents. Compared to those people who would have been right now, my grandfather would have been, he would have been like 120 something, 130 years old. So I caught these people, and I used to love to sit with them and talk. What we have, the privileges, the freedoms, the resources, the technology, what we have now, no generation before us had it. And by the way, this is not going, some of us were thinking, inshallah, one day we're going to conquer another planet. We can't even take care of our own planet. We're not going to go conquer another planet. I'm telling you, this is going to be it, right? And even, I'm not very optimistic when it comes to saving the planet, by the way, right? So enjoy it while you have it. I don't even know if our kids are going to have what we had. Maybe they will have something a little better, maybe much more better. But at some point, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, this earth is going to run out of what resource? With the way we're going, by the way. As a matter of fact, there are many predictions that, maybe in a matter of decades, we're going to just deplete everything. So Allahu A'lam, that's in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Some scientists and philosophers say, no, this is just, left-wing, extreme, radical, socialist agendas. But Allah Ta'ala A'lam. It's not going to last. We know that it's not going to last. We were told that there's an end to this world of ours. So my point is that I feel that we're the most privileged, right? So we have to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet we complain a lot. We're not. I remember them, doing things that I can't imagine doing. Let me just ask, I'm not going to even say, can you imagine living for a whole year without a cell phone? Can you imagine not having a refrigerator? Just imagine not having a refrigerator. Just imagine that. At all. I live this. I actually, I've been to places where they don't have a refrigerator. They have to cook fresh food. Every single meal has to be something fresh. Every single meal. You can't save anything. That's it. If you have any extra or any leftover, if you don't eat it by, the next meal, you need to share it with your neighbors or something like that. Otherwise, you have no place to store it. No running water. No running water. Right? So we are blessed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. So if we get into the month of Ramadan and we don't experience shukr and gratitude and realize how blessed we are, then something is missing in our fasting. So keep these two things in mind. Taqwa, being mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal, which requires that you get rid of all distractions, because taqwa means, again, mindfulness. Mindfulness requires getting rid of distractions, not adding more distractions. And that's why I said, I think we should cut down on entertainment, social media, and any of these, unnecessary, tools that we have that are distracting us. Some people say, well, I need to kill time because I'm fasting. Well, you don't. You want to live it. You want to experience it. Right? So try to get rid of distractions. This is something that I vowed I'm going to do. I know it's going to be very difficult. It's not going to be easy, especially social media. But starting tomorrow night, inshallah ta'ala, I'm going offline, inshallah azza wa jal. So, inshallah, when it comes to social media. Now, what's social media? Is WhatsApp part of it or not? I'm just going to keep WhatsApp just to be able to communicate with the volunteers and the other imams in the area and family. But no social media for me, not even Venmo, Huh? Yeah, that's what actually that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to have, like pin like 2 or 3 groups that I have to communicate with, and then everything else is going to be, can you mute? You can mute things, right? Just mute it. And that's it. No more distractions. Month of Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala, is going to be about connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reconnecting with the Quran, inshallah ta'ala. So what should a day in Ramadan look like, right? Or what can a day in Ramadan look like in order for us, remember that, and I'm sure Sheikh Mustafa covered this last week when he talked. Today we're not going to be talking about technical fiqh aspects. We're just going to be talking about the spiritual aspects. Remember that when it comes to the month of Ramadan, it begins the night before, after sunset of the last day of the month of Sha'ban. In our case, this year, it's expected to be Sunday. There's no possibility that it's going to be Saturday. So starting from Sunday evening after sunset, your Ramadan has officially begun, right? And you should make your intention to fast on Monday, inshallah ta'ala, that night, right? Don't wait until like Monday morning. You wake up Monday morning, you're like, oh yeah, it is Ramadan. Okay, inshallah, I guess I'm going to be fasting. No, you have to maintain, and you have to keep your intention from the night before, or at least before Fajr. So make sure that that night you begin with Maghrib prayer on time. If you can do it in Jama'ah, whether it's at home or at the closest masjid to you. Some people wait until Taraweeh. Begin with Maghrib, inshallah. And begin with a tawbah, repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, between you and Allah azza wa jalla, privately. Ask Allah azza wa jalla and beg Him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your repentance. Turn back to Allah and ask Allah for guidance and strength and inspiration in the month of Ramadan. And begin reading your Quran, from Sunday night, inshallah. Begin with your Ramadan schedule, Quran. As a matter of fact, I was thinking to, get a head start. Don't wait till the first day, right? Sometimes the first day can be overwhelming, for some people, especially if you haven't if you haven't fasted for a long time. So start from the night before, inshallah ta'ala. Come to Isha and Taraweeh as early as you can. Pray your Sunnah, and pray your Isha and your Taraweeh if you can. If you can't make it in the masjid, do it at home, even if you pray 4 rak'ahs. Taraweeh, by the way, doesn't have to be 8 or 20, right? It's whatever amount of rak'ahs you can pray, inshallah ta'ala, even if it's at home. And then make sure that you commit to praying every prayer on time and or in Jama'ah, right? On time and or in Jama'ah, right? Fajr prayer, if you can do it, if you can, one of the greatest acts of worship that are multiplied and highly recommended is Umrah in the month of Ramadan. Now, how many people can or are planning to make Umrah this Ramadan? Go to Mecca and perform Umrah. Anyone? Huh? I don't know. It's open throughout the whole month. Anyone is planning to? No? No? Okay, khair, inshallah. If you are, let me know, inshallah, because there's something I would want you to pick from Bin Dawood for me, inshallah. So guess what? You have an opportunity to get the reward of Umrah every day in Ramadan, right? You pray Fajr in Jama'ah, right? Stay or at home for the sisters who are praying at home, and stay after you finish the Salah. You stay in your place. You don't move. So make sure that you make for yourself a comfortable musalla, And by the way, I urge, especially, and even the brothers who pray their sunnah at home, and the sisters, I urge that you designate a spot for yourself at home to be your musalla. Right? Don't just pray in random places. like whatever it may be available, and then one day you end up finding yourself in front of the bathroom, the next day you're next to the kitchen, watching the food. Just designate a very nice place, decorated, even if it's just for the month of Ramadan, right? Put whatever you need to put there, make sure that, you spray whatever you need to spray, you have your rug there permanently, right? You don't even have to fold it, right? Just designate a place for you to be your musalla, right? A place that you're going to just enjoy. Sit after Fajr until sunrise, doing nothing but reading Quran or remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And guess what? By the time it's sunrise, you're almost there. Your Umrah is about to be complete. All you have to do is just get up and pray 2 rak'ah. And the Prophet ﷺ said that will be the reward. You will get the reward of Umrah. This is something that is available to us. So if your work schedule allows it, do it. Take advantage of this. ها؟ لا هذا في رمضان إذا كانت عمرة حقيقية يعني. أما هذه عمرة يعني عمرة معنوية. الله كريم. No. So and take advantage of. There are three types three types of remembrances. Three forms of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that should be constantly what we keep ourselves busy with. Dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Any combination of these, right? And there are some that are recommended by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he himself used to do. Astaghfirullah, istighfar, back home, they say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, astaghfirullah, as'aluka al-jannata wa a'udhu bika min an-nar. Right? They just repeat this, all the time. So this is one dhikr, right? The other one is Quran, just reading Quran. The month of Ramadan is the month of Quran. They said scholars of hadith and scholars of fiqh, when the month of Ramadan begins, they stop studying anything but the Quran. They start sharing, or even they start reviewing hadith. They just focus on the Quran. They say this is the month of the Quran and we want to dedicate, the entire month for the Quran. They study the Quran, read the Quran. It's all about the Quran. So number 2, Quran. And number 3, because Allah specifically, at the end of the verses that talk about fasting, Allah specifically mentions dua. So it's dua time. This is the month of dua. Don't waste it. Make sure that you have a dua, you have a wish that you want to be fulfilled. There is your opportunity. The month of Ramadan, it's time to do that. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and beg Him every single day. I know stories of people that's where they had their breakthrough. Right? Allah Azza wa Jalla says, I listen to you. There's no interference. I listen to you. So these 3 things, right? Remembrance of Allah, praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah. Keep yourself busy with that. Reading Quran whenever you have the opportunity, right? And by the way, just like I said, you have a designated area at home, have also a designated mushaf, like one mushaf that will be yours throughout the whole month, right? And then dua, supplication. Dhuhr and Asr on time every day. Try to, if you are not already used to this, try to pray your sunnahs. If you're someone who prays, every single day, but you're not consistent with your sunnah, make the month of Ramadan, to make most out of the month of Ramadan. Make sure that you pray your sunnahs in the month of Ramadan. Again, it's a season. These are multiplied. This is a blessed season. 720 hours, maximum 30 days, and it's going to be over. And again, throughout the day, in the afternoon, some people are busy planning and preparing for dinner or for iftar. Word of advice. Month of Ramadan, wallahi ya jama'ah, it's not about eating. It's not, And for those of us who get preoccupied planning, preparing, and especially, something that is absolutely, unfair and not right is for us to preoccupy our wives or our mothers with just preparing food and everything, and then the cleanup. Yeah, Jama'ah, this is not what the month of Ramadan is all about. You know, don't feel bad. If the month of Ramadan, and what if you don't have samosa in the month of Ramadan? You know, Wallah, I used to say this. Some people say this, and I used to say this. Not anymore. You know, how can I have Ramadan without samosa? It doesn't even feel like Ramadan without samosa, right? Again, you see, that's the difference between the mentality of those people who are looking for a season to reform and change and get a spiritual boost and connect, and those who are looking for a season to celebrate, right? Like they want the festivities, and it's all about like being invited to iftar and having certain dishes that only appear in the month of Ramadan and certain drinks that only appear in the month of Ramadan. Let us not make Ramadan about it. For a change, try a Ramadan without any of these things. If they're available, alhamdulillah. If they're not available, don't go out of your way. Takalluf is not proper in these things, right? If your closest grocery or halal store ran out of that particular, dish or item that you're used to having, you don't need to drive like an hour, or you don't need to go out of your way to obtain it, ya Jama'ah. Wallahi, it's not fair. I am guilty of wasting my time over nonsense. And these Ramadans I can't bring back. Khalas. So let's take advantage. For a change, let's make this Ramadan not about the iftar and about the desserts and the sweets and let this Ramadan be about the Quran, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about our souls, about attaining salvation, connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying for our ummah, feeling truly, instead of it just, truly feeling with those who have less than us, right? Just, and let us not preoccupy ourselves or our spouses and our mothers with just preparing. So much so, in some cases, the person after preparing, a big iftar, a meal for everyone, they don't have the energy to stand and pray anymore. Their back already hurts, not from Qiyam al-Layl, but from Qiyam al-Matbakh. Yani, come on. Wallahi, it's not fair. And it's not acceptable. So the time of each period, like after Asr until Maghrib, again, something light, something that, حسب ابن آدم لقيمات يقيمن صلبه. And we should take advantage of that time. These are very precious hours between Asr and Maghrib, especially right before Maghrib, right? That's very precious. So for those who want to take advantage of that, prepare your date and your water an hour before Maghrib. Have it sit there, and then the 15-20 minutes or at least half an hour before Maghrib, use that for dhikr and for dua, right? Connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't preoccupy. And then when it's time to break your fast, and then figure out what you want to have afterwards, inshallah ta'ala. Maghrib and Isha, needless to say, we covered that. The Prophet ﷺ said again, whoever prays Taraweeh in the month of Ramadan, وَمَنْ قَامَ إِيمَانًا وَاحْتِسَابًا غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ, his sins or her sins will be forgiven. Right? So make sure that you pray Taraweeh, if not in the masjid, on your own every single night. Again, even if it's 4 rak'ahs. It doesn't have to be 8 rak'ahs. It doesn't have to be 45 minutes. Even if it's like 20 minutes. Pray your Taraweeh every night, inshaAllah ta'ala. That's first section. Second section is advice for the sisters. For the sisters. Sisters, whether you're fasting or not, the month of Ramadan is still a sacred month. Right? And also for those who may not be able, who may have some kind of illness or some kind of health condition where they can't fast. It's still the month of Ramadan. It's still a sacred month. It's still a month of ibadah. Right? So worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and engaging in dhikr and reading the Quran is not something that you only do when you're feeling hunger, right? You could you could have excuse to break your fast, but still maintain dhikr and ibadah and the Ramadan spirit, right? And remember that a condition that you have, right, that prevents you from doing something does not prevent you from earning the reward. This is good news, right? Just because you are not fasting, that doesn't mean you can't earn the reward. Just because you're not praying, that doesn't mean that you're not getting the reward, right? In the hadith, right, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that people will be rewarded based on their intention. And that's why it's very important to maintain, to be in the habit of doing good deeds, right? So that if one day for some reason you can't do them, but that used to be your lifestyle and that was your habit, you'll still be rewarded because that was you, right? The Prophet ﷺ, in a hadith, Anas ibn Malik says, when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ came back from Tabuk, the expedition of Tabuk, قال فلما دنا من المدينة قال إن بالمدينة أقواما ما سرتم مسيرا ولا قطعتم واديا إلا كانوا معكم قالوا يا رسول الله وهم بالمدينة قال وهم بالمدينة حبسهم العذر. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is after they went to Tabuk for a whole month. It was a long journey. And they came back. On their way back, before they entered Medina, the Prophet ﷺ told his army and all these people that went with him and made a huge sacrifice. This was a huge sacrifice. And it was a huge accomplishment. They came back and he wanted to remind them, right? That he said, by the way, indeed in Medina there are people who stayed in Medina. They didn't join us on this expedition, on this journey. They weren't with us. The Prophet ﷺ said that there isn't anything that we have done on this journey of ours, right? Except that they were rewarded just like we were. They were with us. The Prophet said, the companion said, while they were in Medina, they stayed in Medina and they ended up getting the same reward as we did, O Messenger of Allah. He said, yes, indeed, because the only thing that prevented them was a valid excuse. Some of them were disabled, some of them were injured, some of them were sick, some of them were elderly, some of them were women. So they were exempt from being part of this, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to get the reward. They were with us with their spirit and their hearts. Had they not been excused, if they didn't have, these conditions that prevented them, they would have been with us and they would have been rewarded just like us. There are people who came to the Prophet ﷺ before he went out to Tabuk, and they said, Messenger of Allah, we would like to join. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I don't have right. I don't have anything. ولا على الذين إذا ما أتوك لتحملهم قلت لا أجد ما أحملكم عليه تولوا وأعينهم تفيض من الدمع حزنا ألا يجدوا ما ينفقون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned these poor companions who came. They wanted to offer something, but they didn't have anything. They said, Messenger of Allah, we want to be part of this. We want to volunteer. Do you have any place for us? And the Prophet said, no, I don't have any place for you. And they didn't say, okay, khalas. They actually left and they were devastated. They were crying. They said, they were really crying. They were heartbroken that they did not have anything to offer the Prophet ﷺ. This expedition was one of the toughest. A lot of people, didn't join. These individuals were upset, were disappointed that they were not able to participate, right? So likewise, those who, who have any condition, I have a family member that every time Ramadan comes, she feels guilty, she's upset, she's diabetic, she's like, oh my God, I wish I had, you're going to get your reward. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is in your heart, even if you didn't fast. So remember that, inshallah ta'ala. And number 2, maintain dhikr, maintain reading Quran. Even if you are not praying, you can still do dhikr, right? You can still, read Quran from your memory or from just to avoid, there's a controversy about holding the mushaf. You read it from your iPad, right? You can still maintain reading Quran. You can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So remember that, inshaAllah ta'ala. And again, I don't want to get into the fiqh of qira'at al-Qur'ani lil-ha'id. So keep that in mind, inshaAllah ta'ala. This is just advice that I wanted to give the sisters. With that, inshaAllah, I am ready for you, inshaAllah, if you have any questions. Dr. Marwa here? She's not here. We'll start from the sister side, inshallah. We'll take 2 questions from the sisters, 1 from the brothers. Yeah. You know, the sisters, sometimes when you put them on the spot, they don't have questions. But then afterwards, they have, yani, mashallah, unlimited amount of questions. Yes, totally. No. Okay. When it comes to repentance, you have, Jazakallah khair for asking that question. When it comes to repentance, tawbah has conditions to be accepted, right? 1, you have to make sure that you have to be remorseful, right? The person has to be, they can't be like proud of themselves and like excited for having had the experience and the opportunity. The individual has to be genuinely remorseful for what they have done. Number 2, they have to quit or cease the action, right? They can't be, you know. Number 3, they have to be committed, or they have to have determination not to go back to it, right? So these are the 3 conditions. This is regarding sins that are between the individual and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something that has to do with, you know, like someone consumed something they're not supposed to be consuming, right? Or engaged in an act that they were not supposed to engage, or they looked at something they were not supposed to be looking at, right? If the sin has to do with violating the rights of someone else, right, then there is a 4th condition added. If it has to do with someone else's wealth, someone else's honor, someone else's, you know, property or privacy, right? Then the individual has to redeem himself or herself and ask that person for apology, you know, for forgiveness, or pay back that individual. So they have to redeem themselves and reach out to that individual and ask them for forgiveness. So, you know, to repent from specific sins, the Prophet ﷺ prescribed to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu the following. He said, make wudu, the best wudu you can make, and then offer 2 rak'ah that are not fard, like nafila, right? And then at the end of which you say, Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi. Oh Allah, I have indeed wronged myself. ظُلْمًا كَثِيرًا وَلَا يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. And only you forgive sins. فَغْفِرْ لِي. So forgive me, O Allah. فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ. For no one except you forgives sins. And the Prophet ﷺ said, for sure the individual will be forgiven. So this is proper tawbah, right? So, yes. Sir Rachel, yes. Yes. So you get up, you know, in time to pray your Fajr. You pray the Sunnah for Fajr. By the way, the Sunnah, the 2 rak'ah before Fajr are so important. So much so that the Prophet ﷺ prayed them, even when he was traveling. You know, when the Prophet ﷺ traveled, he did not pray the Sunnahs, except 2. Fajr and Witr. The 2 rak'ah before Fajr and the Witr at the end of the night, right? These are 2 that he did not stop praying, even when he was traveling. There was one incident where the Prophet ﷺ told Bilal to wake them up for Fajr. And Bilal overslept. So did the Prophet ﷺ and the entire camp. And they woke up, like the sun rays, right? Woke them up, the heat of the sun. So it was already, I mean, the sun had risen and everything, and the Prophet. So they got up, they made wudu, they called the adhan, they prayed their sunnah, they called the iqamah, and then they prayed Fajr. Right? So, like, they didn't say, oh, wait a minute, it's qada, Fajr time has already passed, let's just pray the fard and that, get it, you know. So, inshallah, in Ramadan, make it a point that you pray your sunnah. I know this is a big challenge for the brothers that come to the masjid, because most masajid, you know, we eat and drink until the end, right? We want, like, so there are some sunnahs that we're very keen on, like eating and drinking until the very last moment. MashaAllah. So what happens is that You're at home eating and drinking, and then it's time for Fajr, and then you have to rush to the masjid. And by the time you get to the masjid, it's almost Iqamah time, or it's already Iqamah time for Fajr. So most of us have this dilemma, right? So one thing that you can do is pray at home if the time comes in for Fajr, right? So pray your sunnah at home and then just head to the masjid. So if you get to the masjid, but one thing that you shouldn't do, which I see a lot of people doing, especially in the month of Ramadan, I don't know why, people arrive at the masjid and the salah begins, or people are already in salah, and they know that because it's Fajr in the month of Ramadan and we imams have tendency to prolong the salah, they pray their sunnah while we're praying fard. You shouldn't be doing that, right? You can, but هذه ينبغي ألا تكون عادة. That shouldn't be a daily habit that you pray the sunnah of Fajr afterwards. If it happens once or twice or occasionally, yeah, but for it to become a habit, then that means the order of the sunnah has changed. So one of two things: either get to the masjid early, at least 7 minutes before the iqamah, just in case you need to renew your wudu, right? So that you can pray your sunnah at the masjid, or pray it at home and then head to the masjid. So if you get there before the adhan, then alhamdulillah you pray Tahiyyat al-Masjid. If not, then, the iqamah, sorry. If you get there before the iqamah, then you pray Tahiyyat al-Masjid, or you stand waiting for a minute until the iqamah time comes in. Or if you get there by the time of the iqamah or in the first rak'ah, then you can join the salah immediately. All right? So keep that in mind, inshallah ta'ala. Yes? No, I'm just talking about Fajr, right? Okay, the sunnah for Fajr. So you pray 2 rak'ah sunnah. In the first rak'ah you recite every day. In the first rak'ah you recite قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. In the second rak'ah you recite قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. And then you pray your Fajr. And then you stay, that's the question. You stay in your place. Again, if you don't have, it's not mandatory, but this is recommended. You stay in your spot. You don't get up and go sit on the couch, or the idea is to say, that's why I said make it very comfortable. If you need to add 2 layers of, make it very comfortable. So you stay in your place, facing the Qibla and everything. You stay in your place and you do your dhikr. You do your adhkar, supplications, you read Quran until sunrise. Right? And then at sunrise, you wait for about 10 minutes. And then you pray 2 rak'ahs, and then you go back to sleep, or you go to work. You go about your day. By the way, for the brothers, or for those, even for the sisters who come and pray in the masjid, you notice that some imams, maybe you notice that after Fajr, I don't turn around right away, right? For about maybe 20, 30, 40 seconds, right? It's not appropriate. Again, it's not haram. Right? It's not a sin, it's not makruh, but it's not appropriate for someone to get up and leave before the imam turns around. People should stay in their place. And the reason we stay in our places is because the Prophet ﷺ used to do that. And the Sahaba said that the Prophet ﷺ also said that whoever says, La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, lahu al-mulk wa lahu al-hamd, yuhyi wa yumeet wa huwa ala kulli shayin qadir, 10 times after Fajr, while in the same position, while your legs are folded in the same position without changing your position, right? It's like freeing 10 of the children of Ismail. Freeing 1 of the children of Ismail. Freeing a slave from the children of Ismail. So there is great reward to saying that. So try to remain in your position and not change your position. Do that dhikr, read Ayatul Kursi, and then if you have to get up and leave, leave. Inshallah. Yes. Yes. Water. Yes. In the month of Ramadan. Yes. Meaning. That's an awesome question. In the month of Ramadan, we hear and we read a lot. I was looking for you 10 minutes ago. In the month of Ramadan, we hear and we read all the time, and we hear from the scholars saying that just read the Quran. Reading as much as you can of the Quran is more important than reflecting. And that is indeed true. There is, when it comes to the Quran, there is reward in reading it. There is reward in studying it. There is reward in listening to it. There is even reward in writing it. What is highly emphasized in the month of Ramadan is reading it. Highly emphasized. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't study it or try to understand it. No. It's quite the opposite. Right? So as a matter of fact, I'm thinking to even quit any reading any material during the month of Ramadan. Right? So if I don't finish the book that I'm reading by tomorrow, then khalas. Right? Just quit anything. And if I want to study something or study a subject, let's study it from, based on the Quran. See what the Quran is saying about it. Right? So if you have time to study something, then make it about the Quran. But dedicate a time for reading the Quran and at least finish it once or twice or 3 times. Jazakallah khair. The least recommendation that I heard was 3 times. I don't know if I can do that, but inshallah. Right? At least once, during the month. They said Imam al-Shafi'i used to finish the Quran 60 times. Once in the evening, once in the morning. Allahu a'lam. Some people say it's an exaggeration, but Allahu a'lam. Allah knows best. Yeah.
So, I have an issue.
Yeah.
In my business, all the girls get ready for Eid.
Huh.
The last 10 nights, we want to kind of meet them and stuff and so on and stuff. The last 10 nights to get ready for Eid. And I always get pushback, how do I explain to keep that Ramadan spirit? Because I get a lot of slack. I'm not doing the sisters justice by you're not giving me letting me finish my Ramadan strong like that.
Yeah.
Try to accommodate the Ramadan schedules, with people when I come in later, after dark, things like that. How the last 10 nights are the holiest night?
The most precious.
Some of the sisters are really engaged or really, and they want to look their best for the Eid, which I support, but sometimes I get that pushback of why can't you just take me? I'm because I need to be at the mosque,
No. Yeah. Marwa, add this, Dr. Marwa, add this to your list of issues we need to just address, inshallah, with the sisters. I was planning to talk about the last 10 nights, and we have, of course, a weekly halaqah for the sisters in the month of Ramadan on Sundays, Sunday after Dhuhr. Sisters, you're most welcome to join, inshallah ta'ala. Wow. This just reminded me of us when we, in the old days, used to go and get our thobes made in the last 10 nights and fight with the tailor, right? It was, you know what I'm talking about, huh? Right? And go Eid shopping. Oh my God. You have no idea how much I regret Eid shopping. Allah Allah. To look your best on the day of Eid, and something has to go wrong. صح؟ دائما. الدشداشة الغطرة يعني something has to go, something doesn't match, something has to go wrong, the tie, something has to go wrong. Then you have a headache, you can't sleep Eid night. Wallahi, I don't know what to say. Nothing. Do your تفضل. Yes, yeah. To do business, yeah. Oh yeah, I made more money in Ramadan. The year I had a grocery store in 2004, 2005, and month of Ramadan was just phenomenal. It's what saved the business actually,
I used to have similar issues, but when I came to think about it, your business, at the end.
Your livelihood, yeah.
It's a work.
Yeah, it's ibadah now.
Work is ibadah.
صح.
And you're doing service to the community.
صحيح.
So this is your ibadah. If you have this intention, you're preparing or grooming Muslims to look good for the Eid. That could be the best
مش not for the Eid, it's for their fiancés. قالت لك ايه. صحيح. Yeah.
I think for me, this is jihad.
Wow, that's special. خلاص, you heard it. Yeah. Yeah, بس على حساب يعني it's at the expense of her time and they're putting her under pressure. يعني but okay, is it something I know, but is it something that they can do ahead of time or no? خلاص. خلاص. Refer them to Sheikh Mustafa. Inshallah. Sheikh Mustafa knows how to handle these kind of people, you know. Yeah. صحيح. Tell them that there is a fiqh opinion that they can celebrate Eid the day after. Inshallah. As a matter of fact, you should double the price. And I'm like, yes, no. Double the brothers, Assalamu alaikum. Brothers have no idea what we're talking about. MashaAllah. طيب. By the way, if you have any question, any like fiqhi or technical aspect, you can ask that question as well. If there's anything that has to, yes. Yes. So, okay, how come?
How do we maintain the good habits after Ramadan?
Oh yeah, internalizing what we do in the month of Ramadan. That's a tough one. For some people it's the day of Eid comes and that's it. That's the end of the beautiful days of Ramadan. But one of the greatest ways to get back into it is to start fasting the recommended 6 days of Shawwal as soon as you can. For like day 2, if you can. I know my parents used to fast on day 2. Like on the 7th day of Shawwal, they're done with their 6 days. This was just their habit. Khalas. Done. They take their fasting seriously. Right? So you jump right back into it. Your body, your system, is used to it. Just jump right back. Right? The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. All of us who tried fasting the last 6 days of Shawwal, we know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't say the last 6 days of Shawwal. And he didn't say the first 6 days. He said 6 days from Shawwal. Any 6 days, right? So the best thing is to get back. And you don't have to fast all 6 days at once, right? If you want to develop a good habit, maybe what you can do is this year Ramadan ends if it starts on a Monday, then it's going to end on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, right? صح? Wednesday is going to be Eid. Eid is going to be on Wednesday, right? Okay. So most likely 99.9% Eid is on a Wednesday. Eid is... Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, I take it back. If it starts on a Monday, it's gonna either end on a Monday or a Tuesday. So okay, yeah, this year is gonna be. So guess what? The Thursday after, which is the 3rd day, right, of Shawwal, it's recommended to fast. If we all commit, starting that Thursday, we're going to develop a new habit. We're going to fast every Thursday and Monday, or at least every Thursday, right? That's it. خلاص. I'm going to fast every Thursday and the 3 middle days of the month. And I'm going to make that habit. 1, I get my 6 days of Shawwal done in the month of Shawwal. 2, I maintain track of the lunar months. 3, I maintain a prophetic sunnah. 4, I maintain the spirit of Ramadan throughout. The Prophet ﷺ recommended fasting 3 days. Whoever wants their sins and their spirit to be cleansed, right? Maintain 3 days, fasting 3 voluntary days out of each month, right? So just getting back right into it. Now, if you connected with the Quran in the month of Ramadan, sign up for some sort of program, studying Quran. I'm so proud. What is the name of one of our sisters, one of our convert sisters did her Qaida Nuraniya and finished. We had Institute of Quran, recognized her last Sunday. Anyone knows who I'm talking about? I wanted to know who it was, mashallah. That was beautiful, right? She accepted Islam not too long ago. She now finished her Qaida Nuraniya, which means, finishing Qaida Nuraniya means that you can read any page, like you can read from any part of the Quran, and you will read correctly. That is a huge accomplishment, mashallah. So just sign up for a program. If you already know how to read the Quran, maybe sign up for like a tajweed program. If you're already done with that, maybe sign up for hifz program so you can memorize as much as you can, right? So whatever, just pick on something that you can get back into right after Ramadan, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Yes? No. There are 3 different opinions on that. Okay, let me just... There are 2 issues here. Issue number 1 is, can you combine your intention? In other words, can you fast some days from Shawwal and consider that to be of your makeup days, right? For those of us who travel or are sick, and for the sisters who don't, who have makeup days, can we do that? The short answer to that is no. You can't. You can do one or the other. Now, the other question is, so what should one do? Fast 6 days from Shawwal and then make up their missed days, or make up their missed days first and then fast 6 days from Shawwal, right? So Allah knows best. What I tell people is, you know yourself, you know your, how much strength and how much, what your capacity is. There are 2 obvious, this is a debated matter from the time of the Sahaba, right? So, I can't say one is better or one is correct and the other one is wrong. Both are. You can do either one, whatever you're comfortable with. I know there are some people who say the Prophet ﷺ said that once you finish your month of Ramadan, then you fast 6 days of Shawwal. So I feel guilty for fasting voluntary days without making up my days. To me, that is a bigger priority. I want to make up my days. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you and reward you. Right? Inshallah, you're not missing anything. Inshallah. Do your best. Fattakullah masata'tum. Others say, no, wait a minute. I can't do it. But we're talking about, let's say if someone has 7 or 9 days of makeup days, and then you have the 6 days of Shawwal. We're talking about 15 days. I don't even, it's not even doable. Mathematically, you can't do it. So how am I supposed to do that, to accomplish this? لا تثريب عليك. No pressure. Fast your 6 days of Shawwal, and then do your makeup days later on. Ummahatul Mu'mineen used to do that, right? Aisha radiyallahu anha, right? Keep your makeup days for the shorter, for December. Yeah, that's going to become a sunnah now. So whatever the individual can do. So whatever you're comfortable with, right? No. Yes? 5 minutes. Yeah. Now. No. So Abu Muhammad is saying that if that there's if you fast voluntary days, right? Obviously, it's a voluntary day, right? You can make your intention in the morning. You don't have to make it from the night before. So this is one difference. The other difference is that the majority of the of scholars of fiqh say if you feel like you can't finish, or if you choose to break your fast in the middle of the day. So let's say today is not Ramadan, it's not a makeup day, I'm not doing a makeup day, I just wanted to fast, voluntary fast. And then in the middle of the day, I got tempted, I wanted to eat, I was invited for lunch, I can break my fast. Right? According to the Hanafi school, you can't. You shouldn't. And the dalil is لا تبطلوا أعمالكم. The rest of the scholars, the majority of the scholars is that you can. You can. You can. It's voluntary anyways. Right? However, if it's a make-up day, if I'm making up a day that I missed in Ramadan, I can't do that. There are two things that I need to maintain. Number one, I have to make my intention from before Fajr, from the night before. I can't just wake up in the middle of the day and say, you know what, I have a day that is missed from Ramadan, I'm going to make it up today. I can't. You have to keep your niyyah from the night before. That's number one. Number two, once you begin your fast, you can't break it. No. Yes. No. 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 Yeah, unless you had an excuse. So let's say I intended to fast Monday as a voluntary, just to do a sunnah. And I began, and I was fasting, and then I had a reason to break my fast. Then inshallah, reward is upon Allah. فَقَدْ وَقَعَ أَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ inshallah. No. Yeah. Yes. You have to make it up. Well, no, if the person didn't know this, that they couldn't do that, the only thing that they owe is just to make it up. No, لا ما في كفارة إن شاء الله. Yeah. لا كفارة. Huh? Intentionally? No, خلاص في عذر. I mean, if there is a reason, yeah. If there is a reason, yeah, خلاص. فمن كان, you can break your fast if you get sick in the month of Ramadan. Yeah. Also, one thing that I need to also remind everyone, please be mindful of the timing. Sometimes people, especially the first few days, people wake up, they're like, I still have time, and they eat. They're kind of negligent or like reckless, not careful. They're like, maybe I have. You can't do maybe. Just make sure that you track. Some of the toughest questions that I deal with is when people say, well, Sheikh, I thought Fajr comes in at 4:35. So I kept eating, but it turned out that it was, 4:22. I was like, yani, right? So, yani, right? So, also, of course, yani, if you forgot and you ate, khalas, you ate. What can I do? One time I had someone, mashallah, that forgot, and they had breakfast. And then, subhanallah, they remembered, they kept their fast. And then they forgot and they had lunch. Allah al-Azim, ajeeb, ya. Same day. Allah. Inshallah. إنما أطعمه الله وسقاه. Huh? Yeah, we recommend that you just stop eating and drinking, 10 minutes before the huh? Okay. All day? Yeah. No. Sahih. People become Batman. You become, you wake up all night. Nah. One last question. We're done. Aywa. Yes, go ahead. Yes. You're very fortunate, mashallah. You pray and you sleep all day. خلاص, mashallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله. So you're talking about morning prayer? Okay. At work. You can't pray at work? Yeah, just make sure that you pray before sunrise. Yeah. Just make sure that you pray before sunrise. Take a quick break. And just if you don't have time to do the sunnah, you want to do the 2 rak'ah only, just do that. Anywhere. Just, yeah. جُعِلَتْ لِي الْأَرْضُ مَسْجِدًا وَطَهُورًا. No. سبحانك. Yeah.